Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, and good morning. Welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View with myself, Baz. It is Saturday morning. It's the weekend before the Celtic players do return, and players all around the country return. Some players I know that are returning today to training to get their fitness tests done and everything, and some teams in in Scotland. But Celtic will return. Brendan Rodgers was obviously at Lennoxtown yesterday, and he was interviewed by the media. Not much given away there never is on the first interview of sort of pre-season, isn't it? It's just talking about the fixtures and the season ahead, and the fact that we set our own standards. We obviously look at other clubs to see how they are improving as teams, but it's always on Celtic's own hand. Celtic are always looking at themselves to see how we can improve, and that's what we've done over the last 25 years or so. But it's an important week for Brendan Rodgers. When you look back to the interviews last summer, Brendan Rodgers was getting quite frustrated by the time that the season started. There's no American tour this year. The tour will be a bit closer to home in Portugal, so there might be a bit more press, a bit more media following the Celtic. And will they be as intrusive with the questions that were asked when Brendan Rodgers was in America last year, and to the point on a daily basis what's happening with transfers? As we enter the beginning of pre-season on Monday, Celtic have brought in Kieran Tierney, and that's really about it when it comes to first team. We haven't really improved the squad as Brendan Rodgers would like to. Brendan Rodgers always talking about coming out the transfer window stronger. He also talks about he likes to get the players in before pre-season. He likes to get the players in to give them a full pre-season, and that's important under Celtic. So will Brendan Rodgers, will the Celtic manager get his way within the next week or so? Because it's not long until Celtic do head over to Portugal for the training camp, and by that time you would think that Brendan Rodgers would be happy that he's starting to get the players in that he wants, so that he can prepare them for the season. Prepare them for the season ahead. The season ahead that was laid out, how and who we will play, with the fixtures being released yesterday. When we click onto the Celtic website, we now have the full fixtures for the 25-26 season. God, 2025, 2026. Just, do you know what? Sit back and think about that for a minute, because Jesus, we're all getting on a bit, eh? It's absolutely mental to think that we're 25 years into we're a quarter of a century into the dominance, the real big dominance era of Celtic. They're people that are grown up, that have known only Celtic success. You know, there are people that are 25 years old this year that have only known Celtic success. They haven't known what it's like for Celtic to go through a dramatic period of what the Rangers have went through over the last 12, 13, 14 years. But with only 13 days, 10 hours and 40 minutes until the next time Celtic take to the pitch, Brendan Rodgers takes to that game on Friday the 4th of July with Queen's Park, and then he heads over to Ireland on the Monday to play the game on Tuesday against Cork City on the 8th of July. And then we head over to Portugal for a training camp. We go from Ireland straight over to Portugal for the training camp, and I think it's an 8 or 10 day training camp, I'm not too sure, where Celtic obviously take on Sporting Club de Portugal in the Algarve. And it'll be interesting to see if Brendan Rodgers, by the time that he gets to the training camp on the 16th, Brendan Rodgers will want the majority of his players for next season brought in. Now we know there will be ifs and buts. Alright, the Bucky Trucker, good morning to you. This was just thrown me. Brendan Rodgers will want the majority of the players that he sees being the main focus of next season. He'll want them to have been in the building, and let's hope that he can get it before he goes to Portugal. Obviously, there'll be, if late bids come in for players, it's always a worry that bids will come in for players later on during. But the fact that there's been no bids whatsoever just yet, well, there's been one for a player, 8.75 million, that was thrown out, but we'll wait and see. Talking about bids for players, Lennon Miller's dad took to an interview yesterday with BBC Sports Scotland, and he said that there's been loads of speculation. And I watched it on Twitter, his interview, and he spoke about Lennon Miller obviously getting his first call up for Scotland, and the fact that Lennon Miller played the way that he does for Motherwell when he played for Scotland. He played the exact same way, and he felt that it was good. He then went on to say, look, as we stand just now, he goes back to training with Motherwell on Monday, and there's not been any bids for Lennon Miller. Not one bid. Nobody's made a note of interest, and that's kind of typical when a player is going into the last year of his contract, because clubs will not want to be drawn into a bidding war for a player that's only got 1 year left on his contract. If Lennon Miller had 3 or 4 seasons, or 2 or 3 seasons, a bit like what Daizen Maeda has and Rio Hatate, those are the type of players that you would expect that if there's going to be clubs watching, could happen quite rapidly on a couple of bids come in at the one time, if there is that interest in those players. With the Lennon Miller one, I think that the closer Motherwell get to the end of the transfer window, it ultimately starts to bring down the valuation that they can expect, because I'm going to say it, when it gets to transfer deadline day, it's squeaky bum time for Motherwell. And Lennon Miller won't be given a hoot, and Lennon Miller's dad won't be given a hoot. I mean, they'll be going, do you know what, if it doesn't happen, we stay at Motherwell. We'll go into the last season of the contract at Motherwell, and then we'll see what happens. It means that Motherwell will take whatever they can get for him, or they can try and persuade him to stay, but it doesn't look like that will be the case. I think that there will be late bids. But anyway, Celtic have made no bid whatsoever, and Lennon Miller's dad said it's funny looking on Twitter every day, because we're linked with a different club every day, and the reality is we haven't spoken to anybody. So I think that we can all take we know the way that Celtic go, and the way that the transfer window has went. I don't know why. I'm just going to go into that in a minute, Mark. The way that the transfer window has went is we have slipped back into the Peter Lawwell book of transfers. Michael Nicholson is the exact same as Peter Lawwell. Rather than paying the cash and just saying he's the player that we want, that's the valuation that the club have. I think that when we look at the way that transfers were concluded last summer, and the fact that we had to pay over the odds for Adam Ida, the way that we did pay over the odds for Adam Ida, and Brendan Rodgers' sarcastic comments on how quick the deal got done when Kyogo got injured, it'll be interesting to see if they conclude business the same way this year, because I think that will frustrate Brendan again, and then people are going to say, it's a big summer for Brendan Rodgers. It will only take another week or so before the media starts asking Brendan Rodgers, you're going into the last year of your contract, are you going to sign an extension? Because that then has an effect on players that come into the club. Players aren't going to come to a club where they know that the manager's only going to be there for 1 year. And, that can play on the mind, especially when it comes to negotiation. But anyway, it is a slow news day when it comes to Celtic, apart from the fact that we're not being as active as we would like. Sleekett says, didn't Lawwell, Nicholson, Mackay all go to the same school? They didn't just go to the same school. They've all worked together with at Celtic over the years. I mean, you've got to remember that Peter Lawwell was actually brought in by the Whites and Kellys to Celtic. You know, Peter Lawwell is one of the leftovers from the old board. But anyway, I'm sure it'll all come good in the end. And at the end of the day, once the season starts, once the season does get underway with that first game at Celtic Park at 5:30 at night in Europe, 4:30 in the afternoon on a Sunday afternoon. Back to it. I still can't believe it. I mean, it's unbelievable that we're having to play football on a 4:30 on a Sunday, the first game of the season. And you can buy hospitality tickets for that game. Single match hospitality waiting list. Celtic haven't sold out. Well, they're saying that there's a waiting list for hospitality now. I don't believe that for one. Well, there maybe be actually for the Celtic lounges. Hospitality guests can enjoy live entertainment, lounge access, delicious pre-match buffets, complimentary. No, that's not true in every one. Complimentary bar, as well as photo opportunities with the recent silverware. That's main stand stuff. That's the main stand, isn't it? The main stand and the Jock Stein stand. Yeah, that's not the Club Celtic lounge. You definitely do not get that in the Club Celtic lounge. But anyway, it is what it is with Celtic. So, Celtic news-wise, Conor McGregor links up with Brendan Rodgers in Ibiza. Brendan Rodgers in Ibiza, just soaking up the sun. Whoopie-doo. That's when it's a slow news day. The whole race for some of the players that we've been linked with is starting to heat up, and there's no use adding to just bullshit speculation. We need to wait and see until there's a bit of confirmation. The whole pissing about, it's just such the Celtic way. There are only 15 hospitality boxes, isn't there? Hard to fill. That's not for the hospitality boxes, mate. The waiting list, that's for the lounges. So there's lounges in the main stand at Celtic Park that you can. It's around. Well, it used to be around about $2,000 a ticket. It's probably more than that now. It's probably about $2,500. I don't know. I could probably find out actually. Brendan and Gucci Crocs on. What's the hold up? It's the same old Celtic way. Free pies at half time. That's what you get in Club Celtic. Yeah, I know. And a dreadful client experience. Yeah, I know. Barca boy. Where are they? I paid my dues for Club Celtic over the years. There's all them. I've said before actually, when I first went into the Club Celtic lounge, it's $2,200 a year now, Barca boy. Well, that's interesting because when I first went into the Club Celtic lounge, it was $1,400. It was $1,400. Inflation's terrible, and that was what season was that? 18-19. 18-19. The 17-18 season. The 17-18 season. It was £1,400 for each for those season tickets for the Club Celtic. It's now at $2,200. And I know what you get. You only get. I mean, you get the pies. You get you get sandwiches. You get cakes. You've got to buy your beer. Yeah, it's unbelievable. But I know guys that still pay it. And listen, when you get to a certain age, and you've got money's not an option, and you've supported Celtic all your days. Sometimes you want a little bit of so-called luxury, sitting on the leather seats. I was gutted that the seats weren't heated anymore. Remember when the seats were heated? Seat picker offering $800 VIP per ticket for Flag Day. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. And the thing is, Ian, that's Celtic selling these to it, selling it to them. God, free pies at half time is all you get in the Club Celtic. Yeah, it is. I know. I've got to admit, I did like the Club Celtic lounge. I did like it. We no longer get priority for away tickets. Do you not? Well, that's shite, isn't it? Has been a season ticket for 47 years. That's terrible, mate. They don't get the priority for away tickets anymore. But then again, there was a lot of guys taking the tickets, and they were giving them to Green Brigade members. So a few years back, I remember the heated seats, Baz. Yeah, Paul. I always wanted one. I always remember when obviously when Celtic Park got redeveloped, and when I first started my own business and everything, and I was like, I'm going to get one of those heated seats when I hit a certain age, and I did it, and I was like, do you know what? When you've grown up going through football, and I mean, that little bit of luxury, and it's just sitting there. There's a bar that got 3 tickets last year. That's terrible, mate. Paying $2,200 a year for a season ticket and not really getting any benefits for it anymore. It makes you wonder the way that football's going with Celtic. It is all about just getting the money, isn't it? But I tell you one thing, the missus would go mental if I was to spend $4,500 on season tickets. Fuck, that's a lot of dosh, isn't it? It is a lot of dosh. Then again, there were 1,400 by the time I started, and there were $2,000 by the time I left. So, yeah. So I know I'd seen the jump myself. I used to live in Glasgow to watch Celtic matches. Never got to any decent games here in Cork. Celtic executive no longer guarantees tickets now. Ballot. Wow. I don't know how that works then, Mikey boy, because I know guys that sit in the main stand that get tickets for, that sit in lounges in the main stand, and they get tickets for every away game. Said this for years, it's a club to us, but it's a business to the board. Of course it is. Of course it is. It is a shambles, the whole. But then again, it's not Celtic's fault of the away ticket situation, is it? I mean, we're going into a season again where there's going to be a lot of games where they've reduced the allocation to Celtic fans over the years. And you know, as we enter into another season, it'll be interesting to see how many of these teams. I mean, Livingston will be the one team that gives us a big allocation because they need the cash. Other teams, you'll see big empty stadiums week in, week out, and then you've got teams that can't even fill their own stadium but take thousands to Hampden. Don't think I could take any grinding over poverty though. Can't believe the decline in London over the last 20 years. Over here in Florida, you could have got a ticket for Inter Miami for $30. Now Messi area, it costs you a grand. It's to pay for. It's to be fair. It's the beckonization into of football. All good, Stephen Johnson. All good. The board loves to give themselves big bonuses each year. Yeah, they do. The only good thing about Livy is we've got the 3 stands. It'll be interesting to see the wee drug dealer back in Scottish football again. Right, him that done jail time. Fair play to him, he's sort of just sell out and he's Livingston manager. Let these clubs go about their business because they can't fill their grounds. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But when you start getting crappy game times at Celtic Park, like at 4:30 on a Sunday afternoon, Do you know? I know that it's going to be Flag Day and all the rest of it, and you try, as many people as they can, try and make to the match at Flag Day, but you're going to have people that are going fucking 4:30 on a Sunday. I've got to travel all the way up on a Sunday, and then I'm not going to get back till yon time of night, and then I'm up at 6 a.m. for work, and it's like fuck. But then there's still people on holiday as well. There's still people on holiday when the first week of the season, so that's going to be interesting. It'll be a full house. It will be a full house for the St Mirren game, but it is a crappy time. It is a crappy time. And then 12:30 the following Sunday up in Aberdeen. Do you know what I mean? You're 2 games into the season, and one's a Sunday bender, and the other one's the bus is leaving at 7:30 in the morning to travel up to Aberdeen, to get stopped just outside Forfar, and then just further up the road by Police Scotland to get the buses searched, and then happy days, back to normality, isn't it? Back to normality. It is a really slow news day today, isn't it? There's nothing. Anyway, one thing that will be interesting is the left back position. The left back position, and there's a young player at Celtic that, even though he's done what Celtic have asked, he outgrew the Celtic B team. He was far too good to play in the B team, so Celtic decided, you need to go out on loan. He's been out on loan in Austria for the last 2 seasons, and by all accounts he's done fantastically well. Young Matthew Anderson, his contract runs out at the end of this month, and Celtic, being Celtic, in the need for a replacement, haven't even entered negotiations with him, allegedly. But the BT manager says, look, he's done what he was asked to do. Before Celtic spend big money, they should maybe look at Matthew Anderson. He's a terrific boy, from a terrific family. He'll be a top player. McManus says basically Celtic need to get him signed up on a new deal and stop looking outside. And then it does come down to, I mean, if he doesn't get a new contract at Celtic, I mean, you've got to then ask, what's the guy done for the last 2 years going out on loan to Austria? You know, believing in Celtic, believing in the football education that they talk about at Celtic. You know, you've got to go your football education, you've got to go on your football journey. What does that say to younger players coming through? You know, it's Matthew Anderson is 22 and hasn't played the first game. He's been out on loan for 2 years. Celtic put him out on loan for 2 years. Do you know, he's done what Celtic have asked so many players to do. And if he's not good enough, why didn't they then sell him? Do you know, by all accounts, he's been fantastic and he's improved. And if we're looking for backup for Kieran Tierney, why not use the young boy? Why not use somebody that's came through the system rather than spending money on a guy from Japan that nobody's heard of? Matthew Anderson got a pre-season for his other year, but then he was sent out on loan. Another player who listened to Brendan Rodgers, there's nothing but spin as per usual. It is a massive summer for Brendan Rodgers. I mean, I can't wait till. I mean, it's going to be interesting next week when the players do start coming back. I mean, Brendan Rodgers and that would have been in there back in the building yesterday, laying down the plans for pre-season training, talking about players, when players are coming back. He'll be talking to John Kennedy, talking about the timing of players coming back. Obviously, you've got the likes of Alistair Johnston, who is still on international duty, and the trickle back of players over the next 2 weeks. whilst isn't ideal, it does give the manager the opportunity to look at the younger players within the squad. Now, the fact that Matthew Anderson's deal doesn't run out to the end of the month, he will turn up on Monday morning. And but anyway, Sleekit says Spuds McManus is a clown. He's destroyed our Academy B team. We got beaten by the Guns of the Glasgow Cup. We haven't played a competitive game all station. It's shocking. Irishman and Porto's in the house. What's the crack this morning? Nothing. It's nothing really. We're just talking about will Brendan Rodgers get his way with players coming into the club before pre-season. James says, Baz, this is a problem for ages. 17 to 20 year olds run their careers, apart from Andy Robertson, Aaron Hickey, they kick on. Why does Celtic take so long to announce signings after they've completed medicals? I've no idea. No idea whatsoever. There's negotiations. When it comes to the B team, I think all eyes this season, especially this season, all eyes will be on Brendan Rodgers and the B team to see if we start producing. And I would say more the pre-season. Pre-season last year, Brendan Rodgers did give some of the younger players a chance and took them away on the training camp with them, and then said, you're going to have to go on loan. You're going on loan. For all the noises that Brendan made last season, and he said in public, he said, throughout my career, I have given youth a chance. So it'll be interesting to see if he does give youth a chance this season. And we should actually take bets on who will be the first journalist to ask Brendan Rodgers about his own contract situation. Because it's only weeks away until they do that, and that speculation will only build the closer that we get to the season. Has the Swedish player joined? Not as yet. It's been suggested that the deal was all done and dusted, but Celtic have, you know what Celtic are like. Sleekit says, my hatred of McManus and O'Dea approaching my hatred for Neil Lennon. These clowns destroyed our academy. The thing is Darren O'Dea and McManus came through the academy. I think McManus signed for Celtic back in 1998 when he was a kid. I'm sure did him and John Kennedy not sign at the same time. And you've got to remember, John Kennedy was actually the better player out of McManus and John Kennedy. The two of them came through the system at the same time, but John Kennedy was the better player. But it was McManus that went on to have the longer career at Celtic and wear the captain's armband for a length of time. I used to sit next to an old boy that was he used to go to every academy game. He went to every Celtic game, but he went to he used to work on the old Forth Rail Bridge. He was an electrician on the Forth Rail Bridge, and he retired. And this guy, the Celtic memorabilia that this guy John had was unbelievable. He knew every single auction around the world that had any type of Celtic memorabilia up for auction. He had 3 original 1967 programmes, and he had 1 fake one. He had 3 original and 1 fake. The memorabilia of this boy, I don't know if he's still alive. I hope he is. But he used to sit in 111 as well. The memorabilia that this old boy had was unbelievable. And he used to go to all the B team games. And he said, look, there's a guy coming through. And he was like, Kennedy's the player. It's not McManus, Kennedy's the player. But anyway, the only academy players I could see as McArdle, Turley, Colby. I think that you've got to add into the mix Dane Murray. You've got to remember that Dane Murray, Irishman in Porto, he got Crocs playing for Scotland. Really bad tackle. It was ended his career. There was a lot of Celtic fans at the time said nothing. Celtic shouldn't send players to Scotland. Some fans are fickle. Nothing wrong with Neil Lennon. There's nothing wrong with Neil Lennon, but I think that he should have, in all honesty, he should have won the 9 and then went, do you know what? But he wanted to stay and try and do the 10, and it was a difficult season. You know, there was players. If you listen to the interview, I think that's the first time that Neil Lennon's really had an open interview, when he done the podcast with Open Goal, and he spoke about the difficulty that they had that season, because they thought that fans were going to get back into the stadium around about December. They sold Celtic on the fact that players would play in front of 60,000 people, and then they ended up playing in front of no fans. And the mentality that affected players. He said that there was players that were brought into Celtic that stayed in hotels, and for that full season they could only come from their hotel to Lennoxtown. They couldn't do anything, they couldn't go anywhere, and the mental struggles that had that season. You know, there was a whole load of things that went on. And Brendan Rod, and then he also says that, look, Celtic were one club that were playing by the rules. They had to take 3 buses to away games, where other clubs in Glasgow were taking 1 bus. Anyway, it's all in the past. We're on 4 in a row. So let's forget about Neil Lennon not getting the 10 for Celtic, because we're on the road again. Yes, we are on the road again. This season, if we win the league this season, we'll make it 5 in a row. And how many times in our history have we potentially won 5 in a row? We win the league this year. If we win that again this year, it'll be 56 league titles, and we will win it. I'm confident. I don't care what him with the fancy haircuts doing across the road. I think he'll come Christmas. He'll be just like every other Sevconian manager, and they'll be chasing him out the door. But the fact that we're going for 5 in a row again, do you know, 25 years, it's the 25-26 season, and you would never thought that we would be so successful. Having grown up watching Celtic through the late 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and a highlight for me, and I always say it, was the 1988 season. The 88 is such an iconic year for me and for Celtic. It was just a fabulous year. And that day at Hampden against Dundee United, it was a glorious sunny day, and at one point it didn't look as if we were going to get away, but we did, and we won the double that year. And the double was a massive thing. Nobody spoke about trebles back then. Trebles were it was hard to win a double. Never mind trebles. We went through the last 25 years, and do you know what? We should all be sitting back with our feet up. Just sitting back, feet up on. That's that. This is how it feels to be Celtic. Champions again, you know. Brendan Rodgers going for 5 in a row. 5 in a row. Do you know what I mean? We need to just have a little bit of reality check and enjoy the season ahead. And you know, whatever happens with Brendan Rodgers, whatever happens with signings, so be it. Baz, if we win it, says Joseph. It's not a case of if. Dane Murray is also 22, a shocking injury record. Celtic can't rely on him. Oof. And we've just brought back Kieran Tierney, who's got anyway. Give me Neil Lennon over Brendan Rodgers anytime, says Paul Baird. Oh my goodness, it's all kicking off in the comments section. Anyway, that's me done and dusted for this morning. Been on it for 34 minutes. Big shout out to Stephen Johnson, big shout out to Ian Roy, all coming over all the way from the US of A. I will watch Portugal Netherlands 5 p.m. Channel 4 semi-final. Bernardo's still on international duty as well, so do you know what I mean? It's going to be interesting. X Factor is calling your name, Baz, says Michelle. Not a chance. My dad's the singer in the family. Anyway, that's me done and dusted for today. If there's any news breaks today, I'm sure that we'll jump on it. I don't think so, there will be, but we'll be back tomorrow morning as per normal on a Sunday for our Sunday morning session. And then when the season starts to get a little bit closer, we might do the Sunday afternoon sessions again. Anyway, on that note, have an absolutely fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world.